Hello, welcome. Thank you for joining me today. I'm going to do a reading today, and I wanted to commune a bit about this huge newness that we're all in now. It seems like that 6/6 portal just completely rearranged everything. And I know for myself, so I think the last reading that I did was on the 7th. So we went through the 6th, 7th, 8th, 9th. And so that whole time, what I was talking about in that last reading, I was reorganizing my home. There was like that rippling effect where it was like, okay, we have to update everything in your life to match you now. I knew that I was going through a really huge shift by the 8th because I started having all of the attack energy, and that always happens for me. You can probably track this. I think it's true for all of us. I'm sure you can track this in your own life when you've gone through huge up leveling. It's like I always call them the goblins at the gate. So for me, it always comes through in 2 or 3 different ways. It'll come through at night through the psychic attack. And then it will come through people. So, it's like a lot of people are minions or, like vessels for the darker energies without even knowing it. If they're like super plugged into the agenda or groupthink or, the mind control program, the system, the matrix, the way we're supposed to be thinking, without really occupying their unique channel, then they can just like, without even knowing, I know a lot of us know this, right? Just bring through attack energy onto people that are transitioning, right? Like they're just playing out the dark agenda without even knowing it. So that happened to me. I had 2 or 3 nights in a row where I had psychic attack. The psychic attack now for me it's quite subtle because I can't really get in, so it's pretty subtle, but it's also loud because the frequency is loud, right? It's just, I don't get scared, and I don't have as many plugs, so it's just milder. But anyway, so then there were people coming in that were, playing out that kind of attack energy. There's more that I might say about that, because during that time, during the 8th and the 9th, there was so much that was going on. It was as if I was watching the very patterns and programs that were unraveling within me and within our world playing out in front of me. It was like looking in the mirror, where I was seeing this type of thing. And even though a lot of that stuff I've already kind of cleared and addressed and become conscious of in myself, I knew there were deeper levels of it that were unraveling. And so anyway, there were just all these huge indicators that there was a huge process going on, so the 8th and the 9th for me were a little weird, like this weird kind of like Agent Smith / House of Mirrors type of energy going on. And then the 10th was when my friend Jane and I went up to the top of Bear Mountain, and we did that crystal placement through Alora Hazel's what does she call it, mountain crystal program, Sacred Mountain Crystal, something like that. Okay, so we did that. If we're friends on Facebook, then I know a lot of you saw that post where her and I got turned around up there on the top of the mountain, and we were just sort of like wandering around, and there are no trails up there except for animal trails. We weren't even on an animal trail, so we were just kind of like bushwhacking, and every time we'd go up to the peak to try to get our bearings, we couldn't figure out where we were, and this type of thing. Okay, so it took a while, but intuitively I knew that we were, because the way the mountain is positioned, it's like we hiked up to one mountain and then kind of came down into this meadow area and then went up onto the other peak, and then that was the area where the medicine wheel was, where we put the thing. So we had to like come down back into this valley and back up onto this to get back down to where my car was parked, and we couldn't make that bridge. We couldn't figure out how to get that bridge, so we were kind of like not circling, but moving along farther around the top of this mountain where the medicine wheel was and where we placed the crystal. And I just felt so strongly that it was important that we, as sort of like the compass or the structured water at that point in the journey, we were just sort of dispersing that energy or needing to be like present while things were readjusting, something like that. And I felt very strongly that once we did that for as long as was necessary, we would effortlessly find our way again. That's pretty much what happened. I felt like we need to go back this way, and then so we just kind of followed the intuition, and boom, and then we were out, right? But anyway, there's been a lot of synchronicities around Bear. Okay, so we were on Bear Mountain, and then one of the other women that I've been connecting with who also did the crystal placement program, we were having all these synchronicities with Bear. So she's in North Carolina and she did placements in Colorado. So she was having Bear Lake in Colorado, which was a lake that I was connected to because my family lives up there, and I was actually present with her throughout the day through Messenger while she was doing that placement. So there was this Bear Lake connection, and then there was was a Bear Mountain connection, and then somebody else came in and they were having mountain connections. Like there were just all these crazy synchronicities around the mountains and around the bear. And so you think about the mountains, it's that apex energy, that top energy. And then you think about the bear, and it's like going within your cave, going within your, your inner self, and having that retreat energy, which is what I felt after we got off the mountain the next day. I was just like, oh my God. So we were out of the portal. And right as we were coming out of that portal, I was having that whole adventure service situation thing going on. And then the very next day it was like collecting myself. So I went straight into that bear energy. I couldn't talk to anybody. I didn't want, and miraculously all my sessions and readings are just like nowhere to be found. So I had been booked out a couple weeks ahead, and it's been going on for months. And, and before that I had a little pause, and then it was like months before that. So I always have these breaks when I'm doing an up leveling or where my energy is really needed for this inner process. So I'm in this like empty space right now where I have nothing, very little on my calendar. I have like appointments and stuff that my daughter and I had and stuff like that. But yeah, so just all this super empty space going within, and then my house is completely different now because I got rid of a lot and I rearranged a lot. And so there's a whole new energy in here. My area and my town feels completely different because I had completed the 3 crystal placements, which created like within a 50-mile radius, it kind of covered my whole area, my town, the mountains, the wilderness, the forest, all the way down to the border and into Mexico, it was just covered it all. And now it turns out we have giant trees here, not giant trees, but ancient trees that were cut that look like mountains. Okay. So we have a couple of those. We have 2 of those here. And I was sharing a video last night when I was driving home from the desert house. And one of the giant trees was in the video, and very few people know about this. You might not know about this. Some of you might. And Laura Hazel wrote me and was like, "Is that a giant tree?" And I was like, "Yes." And she's like, "Did you put a crystal there?" And I said, "No. I was doing them 50 miles apart." And so we decided to do more. And there were 2 other spots that I wanted to do in this area, but I knew she was like, "Well, it's not really necessary because they cover 50-mile radius." So I just chose far enough apart. But there were these two other placements, and I said, "Yeah, we actually have 2 giant trees here," and she does 2 in her area. And so I said, "Do you want to send more?" And she said, "Okay, I have a number in my mind. Let's see if you have the same number." And I was like, "Well, the 2 trees plus those 2 other spots that I wanted to do, let's say 4." And she was like, that was the number. So I get to place them everywhere. I'm just placing them everywhere and placing them I'm going to place one on the hill that I walk on all the time. For friends on Facebook, then you see a lot of those photos up above the town. And then I'm going to do up on this other mountain in our area, Signal Peak, where we have had plenty of fires, a lot of fires. Our big fire last year demolished that area. It was an old growth forest, and it was all the mushrooms and the lichen. It was one of my favorite spots in the forest, and it got burned. And I really felt to put one there. So she was just like, "I trust your guidance." And so we have more adventures coming up. But anyway, back to the bear analogy, just sharing for those of you that are following the story and the adventures. But the bear analogies and the inward time and the readjustment. So that next morning I woke up and I felt completely unplugged. So what I was saying is like my area feels completely different. My house feels completely different, like everything. My son is going through a huge shift. So even down in the desert house where I also did a placement with the mountain there, even that feels completely different because his patterns and his energy and the house feels completely different. My daughter came down to the desert house. I posted about this on Facebook. A lot of you would have seen this for the first time for an official visit. She's gone down just to like get a ride to the airport because, her dad gives us rides to the airport when we travel or when she travels and stuff like that. And she's usually like, "Oh my God, I hate it down here," because she was trapped out in the middle of nowhere for years and was having a real shamanic journey. It was dark and it was 4th dimensional, and it was all very much a part of her trials and initiations, but it was really intense, and it led to her moving up here with me. And so every time she goes, she kind of is just like, like not really ready to purge all that stuff. And this time she was super excited to go. And she felt good and she was happy the whole time. And it was like that timeline has collapsed. That's what it felt like. And her and I, we usually sleep in the same bedroom in my son's house when we go for airport visits or something like that, airport rides. And this time my bed was full of ants because it's in the desert. And when there's a lot of rain, there's just like so many bugs. That first year that I lived there in 2020, there were just like absolute like bug invasions and bug apocalypses. And it was just like the strangest. I had some like really crazy experiences with different kind of bugs bugs. And so it hasn't been like that the last couple of years because we've been dry, but we've been getting more rain. So the ants were everywhere. So we had to go sleep in her bedroom in the other house with her father and his partner. And everybody's all on good terms. We've all up-leveled all of this. It was just going back to that area and clearing that time, that time and the associations with that time and that timeline. And so it was just all this confluence right on the heels of the of that portal. Okay, so we had to sleep in the same house with him, and I was with her, and I was having visceral reactions to. We had created this. Oops, I forgot to turn my notifications off. I hope this is it. I hope there's not more, because I get distracted. But anyway, she had like her own little sort of like apartment on the side of one of the house, on the bottom floor. And so and she was really trapped and stuck at the time. So we wove a lot of like the paintings, the posters that we put in, and the colors and just the placement. We wove in all these symbols and anchoring, kind of like I do here, but with the intention of like helping her. And it was in that space where she had her really dark experience. And so, yeah, we were there, and I hadn't spent much time in that room either, because I go and I stay with my son. So we were in that space, and I was like reliving some of that stuff, and it wasn't like super intense. It wasn't like super edgy, it wasn't like super edgy, but it, because I've dealt with a lot of that stuff, but it was definitely there. There was stuff purging. And so we slept in that room, and we actually slept really great. But okay, so the other thing that I wanted to talk about that's related to this, there might be more with this, but basically, it was like she was getting to the very bottom of her stuff and clearing that out, where she was on the other side of it. Okay, and so I feel the same thing is happening to me and a lot of us, because I know when something's happening to me, it's collective, because I'm very woven. You can see it in my astrological chart and just the way I live and the way I've been my whole life. It's like I'm very woven with collective energy. So I know if it's happening to me, it's happening to others. Maybe not, obviously not in the same specifics, but the general energy. And so what I'm feeling in my body, the way I'm understanding this, is because of what I'm feeling in my body. And so there are certain symptoms or sensations that I'll have with the solar energy, or that I'll have when I'm activating, or that I'll have when I'm clearing. And so it's the same energy as clearing and activating and healing, right? But it's presenting in a completely different way, where I've never felt this before. Like, I don't even know what the hell this is, but I know intuitively that I've gotten to a pattern and to a thread that I couldn't get to before. Just like my daughter, after 2.5 years, she was able to do that. Mine, it's like this sensation that runs down like right through the right side of me, and it kind of like hovers here, but sometimes it'll go higher and sometimes it'll go lower. And when we were in the bed that night, I had this pain that went that same exact line, and it went down through my chest, and down into my rib cage. And it was really painful. And I was stretching and trying, because I know it's related to fascia too, fascia nerves. And so I was trying to release it. My daughter was trying to sleep. She's like, "Will you stop moving?" So I just breathed, and I did like all this breathing, and I moved it, and it cleared. So this is the same night, or the night before the volcano went off in Hawaii. So I know that's connected as well. Just this huge, like from deep within, this release, right? So this deep within, this thread, this something that's being pulled up and released. And so that's partially why I want to read today. I want to see what comes through, because it's still not very clear to me. It kind of reminds me of, like in astrology, I know I'm talking a lot about astrology right after in that last reading, I was saying that I wasn't into astrology and it was part of the capping, but there are energies and explanations through the paradigm of astrology that explain things in life. So I'm using this, but like when you have a trine in your chart, it's like the energy moves effortlessly and easily, and you don't have to really do anything. It's like everything's set in motion, it's all supported, and you just flow through and everything moves. And that's sort of what I was expecting on the other side of this portal, where I felt this huge shift. Everything was different. There were all these ripples. And yet I felt this like stuckness in me, this like something that needed to move. And so it reminds me more of like a sextile, where a sextile in astrology, there's movement and there's an opening and there's a doorway, but you have to walk through that doorway. Okay. So I've been kind of just, for sort of waiting for this stuff, even when I did that big clearing, it's like I can still feel this thing, whatever it is, that So I've been visualizing it leaving. I've been doing all these things. But this morning when I meditate in the morning, a lot of it is, setting intentions or asking, affirming, reading the energies, this type of thing. Okay, so I was sitting there and I asked my higher self if there's anything that I need to do or know about the energy that's trying to clear in me right now. Please guide me. And right then my phone dinged. And it was a friend of mine in town here, and I haven't talked to her in a while because we've both been in bear mode. We've both been kind of doing this inner thing. And she asked me how I was, and I told her, and we really are in the same energies. And so she shared with me this thing that she's been doing. And so it's connected to, what the heck is it called? I had never heard of it before. It was like, I can't remember, I can't remember, SMT or something like that. But it was having to do with magnets and like using magnets to work with the brain and stuff like that. But this part was just sort of like an affirmation and a conversation with your subconscious. And so she shared with me this. And basically you say, I thank you for trying to protect me by creating pain. Okay, so that's the first thing. I'm ready now to feel what you're trying to protect me from. Show me the feelings you're trying to protect me from now. Stop creating pain now. Show me the feelings now. Thank you. Okay, so these 6 things. And so you just say it like a mantra, and you say it as many times as you need to, and you're basically just creating a conversation and a release for your subconscious to allow these deeper things to come up. And so I've been working with this type of stuff for a while, because I know that a lot of mine comes from safety. It comes from being hunted for eons. It comes from, just cellular memories, Akashic, galactic, Earth history, feelings of contraction. And then it played out in this lifetime with contraction in my marriage, or contraction when I was a child, and I had like entity shit hanging around me, and just always feeling afraid. Okay, so I've been working on that. After I said this a few times and I started tuning in, what came up for me, I'm not done yet. I know I'm not done yet, but there were these tears and this around like not belonging. Okay. And so like not belonging on this planet. And I know that a lot of you are going to relate, because we're all star seeds, we're all, not from here. A lot of us, if you've been listening to these readings and you resonate with them and you enjoy them, that's you too. And I'm sure you relate to this, just this feeling of like, whoa, like I don't understand. I don't relate. I don't care. Like, what the fuck is wrong with me? Why can't I find a mirror? This type of thing. And all this has shifted for me. I have so many mirrors now, and I'm living my purpose, and I understand why I never fit into the false, ridiculous, inverted, satanic realm, all this. And so all that, like intellectually and even I'm conscious of this, right? But my subconscious is still holding this. Okay, so then my friend, this woman that I'm been collaborating with through sessions, and but now we're collaborating over the stone placements. She writes to me this morning, and she was responding to a post that I had made about the edge. If you're not on the edge, if it's not like breaking you down, then or if it's not breaking you down and you're not like having to use all your strength to move through, then it's not an edge. This type of thing. And she responded to that. And she basically, she said something. She said about not belonging. I'm walking the path of belonging and yet not belonging. So there have been a lot of synchronicities with her and I lately, where it was, she's the one with the bear, right? The bear lake, bear mountain. And so it was like, oh my gosh, that was the gem, this morning that came up from this stuff. And I'm going to keep saying it because I'm not on that edge yet, right? Because it's like I consciously understand and have unwrapped that trauma, but there needs to be this huge release, this huge release. So I so look forward to that. The other thing that I felt, because I feel that a lot of us are probably relating to this, the guidance that I had this morning when I was meditating, and I knew that I was going to be doing a reading this morning. So I did this in that moment when I was in that meditation, was setting the intention to allow this reading to also be a healing, and trusting that whatever comes through the cards or whatever's coming through me now is of a frequency and a transmission that helps to move these core blocks, I want to say, these core overlays, these core invasions. These words are coming to my mind, indicating to me that there's like a program that's running in us, right? And so I know Alora Hazel was saying it was the night that my daughter and I were sleeping in that house. unraveling the darkest trial that she or I have ever been through, going through that trial with her. And I've been through a lot of dark shit, but this was the darkest ever. Releasing that, right as the volcano was going off, right as Laura Hazel was saying, we're in for a night tonight. We're getting into, the things that were most hidden, right? For me, it was presenting as pain in my body. So it's like, it's indicating to me that there are these programs, these dark energies, frequencies that have been playing out on our planet that are unplugging now are also unplugging from inside of us. Okay, so I felt really guided to, first of all, protection fields, but also to allow this transmission to come through, to do sort of a group clearing of these things that are stuck inside of us, okay, and where two or more gather, right? So it becomes very powerful. So I'm intending to help move along this clearing from inside of myself, and for anybody else who feels guided to hook up with that energy, just inviting it to come through and knowing that it will be there encoded in the energy. Starting now, I feel it conjuring right now. I'm starting to get chills, allowing these things to move and clear from our field, to have that infusion of light to take its place. Okay. And again, everyone that listens, this is what I was getting this morning. Everyone that listens and has a visceral experience of a clearing through this video enhances all of us. So it's like a group clearing, then it rippling out to others who aren't listening, just because it's going to be in the field, this clearing, this release of these deep programs. Okay. Running within us, showing up as pain in our body, showing up however they're showing up as self-sabotage, leaking our energy, all these different things. Okay. So putting that out there, dedicating that to all of humanity, to anyone who is able to benefit from this, what we're creating right now in this sacred space. Okay, so I think that I'm going to start reading into the cards right now and see what we get and how this goes. Wow. That is so interesting. So it's wasp spirit again. Now we got this card, I think it was the last time, and I've used these cards a lot because I've been doing personal readings, and I did like 3 or 4 of them. And then I pull cards, every morning for myself, and I use this deck and this and that. So it's not that it just fell out. Here it is again. I kind of had a feeling this was going to come up, because the other thing that's happening, and I don't know if you're finding this as well, is that like I've been having all these bug bites, and I know it's summer and it's hot and blah, 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 but unlike any other year in my entire life. And what's happening is it's all up the right side of my body. So there it is again, in the right, representing the masculine, but also the aspect of us that falls into distortion and into program. Okay. Because the feminine is our intuition. Our left side is our intuition, our feminine, our soul, our hearing, our listening, our oracle, our instruction, our soul, and the masculine, our right side, is our action and how we play that out into the physical. That's how it always comes through for me. Okay. And so, whenever I have something on my right side, I know it's my masculine, and I know it's my distortions. Okay. Again, coming back to this program. Okay. So the bugs. So I had bug bites, and this started a few weeks ago. They're gone now. Now it's just this weird thing that I have going up through pain, but I had them, I don't know if they were I don't know what the hell they were. I don't know if they were chiggers. This weekend it was ants. Actually, it's not over yet. I had ant bites, and they were all on my right side. All of them were on my right side. And so they were the whole way up my body. And it started, when it first started, it was the whole way up my body too. And it went like from my foot. I think it started at my foot, and it went the whole way up, the whole way up, the whole way up. And then it went away. And then the same thing with the ants. Okay. So my daughter got stung by a wasp the other day. We were sitting outside. She got stung by a wasp. My friend Jane, right before we went up to Bear Mountain, she got stung by a bee twice, once the night before, once on the way there. And that was also on her right side. And she was having problems with her right leg. Okay. So there's all this, right? And then another friend of mine in town here, she was, we were communing today, and she got bit by something, and it was also on her right leg. It had this huge reaction. Okay. So we all, I had this thought where I was feeling like there was sort of like this attack energy going on, where sort of that Agent Smith energy, like I was talking about, where the energy will come in your dreams. It will come through people who aren't aware of their alignment. It will come through, I had some people 2 nights in a row. I had some people outside of my house. They were you could tell from the laugh and just the energy that it was like a meth situation. I live up the hill from the Mission, which is an area where a lot of people go for shelter and stuff like that. But there's a lot of drug stuff that goes on too. And then right up the hill and past my house, you go up to the hill where I'm going to put one of the crystals. Okay, so it used to be an old mining area, a lot of amethyst and fluorite and I forget all the different stones. There are quite a few up there, but you can find the quartz crystal and stuff like that. You can find the amethyst. I've seen the amethyst, and I've seen like the calcite and stuff like that. So anyway, right up there where a lot of people kind of hang out, you know. So I'm right on this thing. So it was like 2 a.m, and I heard them outside my house, and they were kind of laughing. It sounded like they were sitting on my doorstep. Like the bottom, I have my doorstep to my door, but then like a walkway and then stairs that go down to the street because I'm up on a hill. Anyway, they were really, really close. And so it was just that same energy of like just stuff weaving around. My psychic attack at night used to be people outside of my, because it used to be like literally like get her, get her, get her. And they'd be like pulling my head down and sticking something in my spine, you know, or they'd be putting things in my arm, you know. It got to the point where they couldn't get in my house. You know, they would just flash images, or it would always be somebody trying to get in my house but they weren't able to, but it was just sort of like haunting. So that energy with these men outside my house reminded me so much of that. It was like the exact same fucking energy, because you know there were entities all around them. So stuff like that, you know, stuff like that. So I felt that also with the bugs, like, and my friend that wrote to me today, she was feeling the same thing, that it was an interference and an attack. But at the same time, they're gonna attack the area in you that's weak, the area in you that needs strength. And so everything's in service to the light. It's gonna show you what is actually asking to be released and asking for attention. So I knew there was something with my right side. I knew it was something with this distorted, the distorted masculine energy, that everything I'm always talking about, the leaking of energy, the feeding the system, like those people that were the Agent Smith type of energy. They were attacking me. They were women, and they were attacking me from this very programmed, out of balance masculine energy that it's like, well, if it doesn't involve lack and limitation and victim and anger, then it's wrong, and you're wrong, you know. So it's attacking the feminine. It's attacking our intuitive, synchronicity-based oracle type of energy, where we're connected to more dimensional perspectives than this one that we're corralled into. And then attacking that and shaming that person and that kind of thing. And then other people jumping on the bandwagon, you know, because that's how it happens, right? It's like a shark feeding frenzy type of thing. And so same thing with the bugs, you know, where it's like you're being fed off of. And so I didn't react to any of that. I just continued to speak from my alignment, and then crickets, you know, nobody said anything. That type of thing where you just correct the energy. And same thing with the bug bites. It was just kind of like, okay, wash the sheets, you know, there's always a 3D thing, and, you know, be careful when you're out and stuff like that. But, you know, I knew there's always, nothing is just an isolated 3D event. It's connected to everything else, right? So reading the energy in that way, seeing it happening to people around me, this type of thing, and knowing to invite now this synchronicity with my friend this morning, with this thing working with the subconscious, and then the guidance to invite this today to clear this energy, to, again, the sex style, doing something about it, right? Like, it's not going to effortlessly fall out. This stuff is really deeply entrenched. It's taken a really, really long time to be the next layer of the onion where we can unpeel it, you know, and just offering this. And if you would like to work together one-on-one to have a deeper assistance, please let me know. Also, if you feel guided, because I'm actually not doing, I mean, I am, if somebody reaches out, it's not that I'm not open to doing readings and sessions. It's just, I've been provided with this space to be not doing them because I'm working on this really deep level, but also offering this service today. And if you feel that it benefits you and you feel like you want to contribute, I do accept donations at paypal.me/Wendy Biondo, Biondo, and not necessary at all. Just if you feel guided to have some reciprocity, if you do feel that you benefit, and even just like $10, you know, is helpful at a time when things are kind of tight. But yeah, again, just following the flow and following the guidance, and also feeling guided to say that as well. So okay, so the bugs and the stings, and sometimes life stinging. So crazy. We were talking about that last time. Again, the number 10, the 6 and the 4, that number of completion, which was the day that we did the Oh, it's interesting. The day that we did the placement in the Apache medicine wheel, and the Apache energy for me is a fractal of that out of balance masculine energy, that turns to violence. And I was talking about this last time too, and rightfully so, because there's, it's like the those women that were attacking me because I wasn't angry anymore, and I've had that a lot where people are like, oh, you're spiritually bypassing, or, you have your head in your sand. And it's like, no, I absolutely do not. I was in anger and violence for like over a decade over my children, over this same sort of injustice and, like patriarchal narcissism, all this. Like I went full fucking balls to the walls in anger and vindictiveness. And I eventually transmuted it and rose above it and transformed my entire family and life and hologram and existence through that unconditional love and through that. And it was just part of my path and my divine timing. Okay. And so, but anyway, so just saying that very justified going into anger, like what happened with the Apache, and with it just as a fractal of this energy that's asking to come back into harmony now. And it's asking whether you're a man or a woman and you're in that righteous anger energy, it's keeping you in division, it's keeping you in divisiveness, it's keeping you in separation. And so a real invitation to be clearing that energy, to be allowing that energy to be harmonized back in, knowing that when things are in wholeness and unity, there's a third door that opens. There's a third door that opens that allows you to walk and maneuver and experience and create individually and collectively. It's the 13 again. Okay, so we were talking about the 12 last time, and the lack and limitation and the capping, and going beyond that into that 13th gate, that hidden room, that hidden door. It reminds me of a synchronicity with a woman on Facebook with a door and a spiral. We're going through. Okay, so again, it's like so many of us are in this telepathic network weaving together, thinking of another one connected to that woman, right? We're all working this together. We're all getting these messages. A lot of us are getting these messages, and we're anchoring them together, and we're just sort of communing in those exact right moments, even in very short ways, to anchor and to decode and to see that this is a web, this is an unbreakable web that we're all tapping into and we're all weaving, and that it becomes stronger when we become aware of the fact that we're all doing this. So right now in this moment, doing this clearing of that which has kept us, this is kind of representing a bit of a interference. That's how it's coming through today, as an interference and as like a tag, or an implant, or like we're resonating. We're resonating on the frequency of that hijack, all those places where we're still resonating, where it's allowed to get in and hook, and so we're coming into great, just like me, where I felt like I never belonged here. I belong now because the frequency on this planet has risen, and my frequency has risen, and I've stabilized in my frequency, and I'm contributing to the raising of the frequency on this planet, that I'm starting to, and I'm meeting the people, right? So I'm starting to feel held in this web of truth and reality instead of this distortion, this hell realm distortion. Well, there's hell realm, and then there's just the 3D matrix, right? Which is also hell realm. It's just not the ones that some of us have been to. Okay, so feeling that belonging, feeling that unification, I think there was a huge up leveling of that through that 6/6 portal in the days that follow, through the portal, starting on the 6/6. Also, supposedly with the pyramids activating on that 6/6. I don't know if that's true or not. This woman Tara that I connected with a while ago through the readings, she is heavily involved with the pyramids, and she was like, "Well, I know she's Bosnian," and she's like, "Well, I'm friends with Sam, the man that like knows everything about the Bosnian pyramids. He's or Serbian. They're Serbian." And she's like, he would know, he would know if there was that frequency, that 33 hertz, that day. And so I was like, will you please ask him, and let us know. Anyway, it's a possibility that's true. Whether it's true or not, it is the energy of now, where everything is correcting and reconfiguring. So that's happening in our bodies as well. But again, needing a little bit of intention and focus to really clear this out. Because again, it's been stuck in us for a very long time. Let's see what the next card is. Completing this attachment, this entanglement with the false program that harms us over and over again. Again, everything's in service to the light. So as we went through our trials and our initiations and our dances with this type of energy, we've climbed out of range where we're no longer a match to this energy. Now it's just about removing these plugs and these programs within us. Okay, let's see what this one is. What is this? Oh, interesting. So the Four of Earth, that's a card of stability in this deck. That's how it comes through for me. We're stabilizing something. Let me clarify this. So we're stabilizing something. I feel like we're stabilizing the field right now. We're stable, like I was talking about, that web and that network and that feeling of safety and belonging. That's the antidote to the feeling of not belonging. The feeling of not belonging creates the plug and the avenue, the channel for the hooks to for the agendas to hook in, right? For the energy leaks, for the attacks, for this type of thing to hook in, okay? So we're stabilizing this field. We're stabilizing the field for the antidote to the feeling of not belonging, okay? Intellectually, we know we belong here. We're here on mission. We came for this. We're finding our crew. We're anchoring this energy. We're anchoring this timeline. We're collapsing the old timeline. And yet there still has to be a real feeling of safety before we can heal the feeling of not safety and not belonging, so that we can fill in that space, just like I was saying, filling in that space so that it no longer has any empty places for this kind of energy to come in. Okay. Okay, that's interesting. I didn't know how this was going to go. I was just kind of following the invitation, the call, the guidance. Looks like it's gonna rain here. I hope it rains. I turned off my swamp cooler because it makes a noise and it's getting really hot in here. Muggy. So we get the Fool. Remember we were getting the Fool a few readings ago. We kept getting the Fool card. And so this is stepping forward in life. This is the epitome of the feeling of safety and belonging. This is the universe's favorite child. Okay, so it's bringing in the energy of safety in this reading. There are transmissions through this. Okay, so here we go. Talking to the subconscious, talking to our soul, talking to our DNA, talking to the part of us that already knows this, amplifying that, getting matches. So the thing with the magnets, with the brain, I was thinking about that. It's almost like we're creating energetic frequencies and transmissions that are magnets to that part of ourselves. Last time we were talking about the rain and the bacteria that opens to the rain. Our sort of like cells and our knowing and our DNA opening to this type of energy. So we're doing it again. Okay, so being the universe's favorite child, when you step, the stepping stool appears. You can literally walk on the cliff, off the cliff. You have wings. You're held. You're supported. When you're in service, in alignment with your divinity, not plugged into the program, not leaking your energy and running things because you're under attack. It's the acting on your intuition and taking it forward in the world. When you do that, that's that co-creation energy, when you're in alignment with your polarities. Okay, so I'm feeling that thing again that I might go into, but I'm going to wait for a cue here. The moon. Okay, so there's the subconscious and there's all the things that are in the way. Yeah, so I think I am supposed to talk about this. So when I was going through that 8th and 9th, where I was really feeling all of the attack energy and the goblins at the gate indicating to me that I had up-leveled, I celebrated it because I was like, oh, thank you for confirming. I thought that I was in a completely different place, but also watching the things that were leaving. And so there were a couple different patterns that I was seeing. One of them was coming through men in particular. Like I was seeing it. My daughter was dealing with a lot of this. And one of my friends, people in my really close inner circle, were all not all, but a lot of them were experiencing this. Okay. So that was when it's really close to you like that, you know that it's for you, it's you as well. You're working with that energy as well. And then my daughter and I were driving down the road and we were behind this truck. And this guy, on the back of his truck, like on the window, there was this bumper sticker and it was just like clear with like an outline, and it was a woman bent over. So it was like her legs and her ass. And it made me so mad. I wanted to like I wanted to like pull him over as if I was like a police officer and be like, show some fucking respect, you know? It made me so mad. And it was just the kind of energy of like, this is not okay anymore. Like, what is your fucking problem? Like, do you not know how to respect the feminine within this realm? So I know a lot of us have had that rage and that anger where it's just like, no mas, you know? So it's this energy of not enabling anymore. And so I noticed, you know how sometimes people will make like a joke at somebody else's expense, like they're pretending that they're being funny, but they're actually kind of jabbing at that person, and there's just like no point. It's just some subconscious pattern of somebody's offering something of themselves that's beautiful and integrated with the soul, and you just need to, oh my gosh, I was about to be really crass. I think I'm not going to say that, but you just kind of piss all over it. You know, you get yourself out and you piss all over it. And then other people will come along and be like, you know, and kind of like laugh about it, right? And so this thing of like unconsciously playing out patterns of distortion that are where you're like basically a minion for the darkness without even knowing it, to attack what's actually in integrity and what's actually a correction signal, right? Okay. So playing that out, and then, but then enabling it. Even if you're not the one playing it out, then you enable it and you laugh or you allow it, right? So that type of thing. And I knew that it wasn't going to go up. And like I had this daydream that we ended up parking beside the guy, and then I found this like lipstick on the ground and was like, wow, look at that. And then just like wrote, you know, like have some fucking respect. I mean, it got intense, right? But what I realized, and my daughter was going through the same thing in her own way, completely different topic, although she was mad about that too because she was with me. But it's just this energy of like being really mad. And even if you're not doing or saying anything, my other friend was like definitely speaking up and saying something, you know, and like a correcting. And that's what I was doing also with this other pattern that I'm going to get to in a minute that I already kind of talked about. But, but even just in your mind, like not being like, oh, well, you know, don't make a big deal about it, or, you know, don't leak your energy on anger, or just, you know, the whole whatever, right? Like bypassing, you know, feeling what you're feeling and knowing that the feeling and the energy of no, that is not correct, you know, is going out into the field, you know. And so there was this huge, that's what I felt in the 8th and the 9th, huge correction energy through anger or through boundaries or through clear seeing, you know. So the other one that I was seeing, so again, remember, the way that we get to this feeling of safety and co-creation is everything that I always talk about every single freaking reading, is having your polarities intact, taking action on your intuition, listening to yourself, not telling yourself you're crazy, not ignoring yourself, not, oh, I don't want to be too much, or I don't want to offend that person, or oh, I want to be nice, or oh, I want to, it's like, no, whatever your guidance is telling you to do and trust, because even if your controlling mind can't see why, you know, or even if you have subconscious unresolved things that are coming up that are making you afraid, there's a reason, and just follow, right? It's how you stabilize your polarities, how you stabilize your field and come into that safety. Okay. So I don't remember why I was saying that, but I'm just going to keep going. So the other pattern that I was seeing was, okay, that's why I said that. So having the polarities intact, right? And not enabling the distortion. So a lot of the distortions have become completely normalized in this society. And so one of them is the lust program, right? And the seduction program, where basically what you're doing when you're seducing somebody into their lust energy, you're pulling them away from their God fractal. You're pulling them away from the pure, divine, intuitive, guiding, connected to all that is feminine within them. And you're pulling them into this dark feminine energy of lust and domination. The lust demons want to dominate, they want to steal, they want to take, and then they want to use for their own subconscious feeding, you know, again, the feeding, they want to feed off of that energy. So again, being minions, you know, being a minion for this darker energy without even knowing it. And so a lot of men in particular, but sometimes women too, falling into that lust energy, but like that guy with the woman on the back. So I'm looking at that and it's sexy, you know, it's sexy. And so everybody that's looking at it is then thinking about some woman bent over for their pleasure, you know, and so it's just like he's like really stirring up a lot of this everywhere that he goes, and everybody's having it, not everybody, but a lot of people having it stirred up in them and playing it out subconsciously and not even knowing, right? And so what I had come into, and it was like 3 or 4 different times right in a row. So I knew, you know, when there's a pattern that you're being asked to look at something. And so it was the seduction energy. And so it was like, it started with this woman. I saw this reel on Facebook, and she was chopping wood, and she was in this cute little dress. And she was like, you know, before I went off grid, I didn't know the strength of my body because I never had to use it. And now I'm chopping my own wood, and, you know, and it was a cool post. And she was like, and there's something really gratifying about chopping wood in a fairy dress. And I was like, that's cool. I like that. So I went to her page and I looked, and all of her other posts were basically about her nipples and her underwear. And so she should be like, oh, I just love the, you know, the way the light goes through the alder trees. But all the photos of her are of her in like these booty shorts. Like, it's all just about her body. And a lot of them, you know, she's doing these poses with like her hard nipples, and, you know, or the best one, the worst one, she's squatting in front of a bucket, supposedly tanning like a salmon hide. And she's giving you instruction. She's telling you about this. And she's just like off-grid homesteader gal, but she has a skirt on, and the bucket is perfectly positioned that you're just looking at her crotch with her underwear the whole time, you know. So it's like soft porn, you know, like all of these posts are like this. I was like, oh my God, this is insane. But then this presentation that it was about like education and self-sustainability, and it was just so disgusting because it's pretending to be this, but it's actually this, you know. And it made me really mad because, again, it's like that anger and that clear seeing where you're not like, oh, well, that's kind of cool, you know, or whatever, you know. And so then I saw like 3 more like that. I saw another woman, and hers was a little different because she was real kind of classy and elegant. And you could say, oh, she's representing the feminine and sensuality, and that's so beautiful. But it's like, you can do that without literally making somebody feel like they want to fuck you, you know, like where you're positioned in a way that's like super sexy, and like obviously that person is positioning themselves between your legs there. And I had to work on this because I was playing out this kind of shit for a really long time. And around like 2011, I started cleaning up because I was kind of like, you know what? Because I got out of my marriage and I was going kind of buck wild, and I was realizing like, this isn't empowerment, and this isn't me doing anything but allowing people to use me. You know, I'm talking, you know, a different kind of thing, but there was also that seduction energy that would run through me. And so it's really only been the last year that I like really cleaned it up. And because I saw what was feeding off of that type of energy, butterfly, I saw what was feeding off of that type of energy, and that's so cute. Yeah. And I could see how it's been feeding off of me my entire life. And so I cleaned the fuck up. I'm cursing a lot in this one. That's that anger, you know, that's that anger. Maybe this is the transmission of clearing that block because we're calling a spade, right? I don't know. Just trusting, jumping off the cliff here and following. And so anyway, so I had this one photo where like I was at the river and I was laying down, and I was in my bathing suit and I was laying down, and I was taking a photo of me relaxing in the river in front of me. And so I wasn't trying to seduce anybody, but my legs were in it and the river, and it was beautiful and it was sensual. But somebody wrote to me, a man, and he said like, oh, I feel so invited. And I was like, well, you're not, you know. But I never posted anything like that again because it's like people are taking it that way. If it's sensual and it's sexual, it was my legs, you know, my legs sitting there. And again, that's what I meant, like of somebody imagining themselves between them. And so it's just like, I was just like, no, I'm not like, sometimes I'll get a photo that's very beautiful, but I can't post it because there's something suggestive about it, you know. Or if I have something that shows some, you know, I always crop it out because it's like, I'm not feeding these entities. I'm not feeding these systems. I'm not being a minion because I like attention, or because, you know, I've been kind of talking about this for a while now. So there were several of those, you know, and again, that reaction of like, no, it's not okay. And then that third one where the women that are acting like men that are correcting the feminine energy, you know, and just the violence in that. And again, the unconsciousness where you're causing harm and you're feeding the split between the polarities that helps us to co-create the stability and the template of a true harmonious the world that we all say we want, right? If we're mad about the world that we want, in a way where we're like working the energy to create an energetic boundary of no mas, and we're using it for alchemy, then that's the proper use of anger. But if we're using it to attack other people, or certainly to attack this, then it's where that anger and that energy and that frequency that can be used towards empowerment is used towards this, right? It's used towards this. So seeing this, right? Seeing this, or even like men or women that try to seduce or try to pull everything into sexual energy and allowing it to happen because it makes you feel good about yourself, or it's like you want some attention, or you aren't happy in your marriage and you just get off on it or whatever. You're enabling this. You're enabling your own darkness, and you're enabling the attachment within you to allow it to hit, right? And of course the other way, and I always give this example, but it's not one that came up as clearing through that portal, but is the one where you just turn on yourself and you shame yourself, and you tell yourself you're wrong, or you tell yourself you're gonna get killed, or you tell all those things, and you just don't listen, right? That's the deepest original violence, and the biggest way to separate your polarities, right? And then you'll attract outer situations that do that as well. So as we're cleaning up this kind of stuff, these outer programs, getting to the one that we can control, aside from not enabling it and not siding with it and not participating with it and not getting off on it or not filling any of your holes, right, through it, but to really, really clean up and have a solid container and solid boundary where you're not feeding this anymore, is how you're going to clear. I'm going like this because this is where it's showing up for me. And this is where it's showing up for me, like a line straight down my body. The bugs were kind of over here, but yeah, it's like the perimeter of my right side, the right side getting hijacked. That's just how I see it. Other people will describe it in different words, of course, in different ways. They might claim the feminine or the masculine through different ways, but this is just how it comes through my channel. So it's consistent for me. So if you need to translate it into your own words, then, feel free, of course, to do that. So we all have different languaging. Okay. So let's do another one here. What are we at? Oh, we're at 50 minutes already. That's amazing. Okay, so let me do a little bit more. Beautiful. Okay, so victory. I feel like this is confirmation as we're coming to the end of this reading, a victory over that intention of clearing something. I feel this is saying that we've cleared something in relation to the subconscious, something in relation to allowing this sort of like attack energy to come in, the plugs within us, clearing that, stabilizing the field, stabilizing the 0 point field. This is the zero, the full is the zero. So it's the 0 point field where you have everything in perfect harmony, where there's that co-creation energy and that door that you can walk through. So having this victory card, let me pull an oracle, a shaman oracle card here and see what we get here, and then I'll decide if I want to close it out or keep going for a little bit more. Oh, interesting. So we have the middle world. Well, that's interesting because this matches what was coming up in the last reading. Did this come up in the last reading too? No, it was the tree of life. So the middle world being the physical. And so this is what I was saying. And this kind of reminds me of the sextile energy as well, where you have to sort of meet the energy. It doesn't happen automatically. It's not just something that you can just kind of like Mr. Magoo and flow through. You have to play your part, where I was saying that there's something about spirit meeting matter. So here's the middle world, the matter, the physical, this realm. We're anchoring our intuition and our higher energy and our divinity onto the outer realm. So we have to do something in the physical to connect them. So this, if you haven't seen that last video, I went into that a lot. In that one prior, and you can find it if you're on Facebook. You can just go to my page and go under Reels, and you'll find it. It's the first one is a pinned post around the energy work, the distance energy sessions that I'm doing, and then the next one that's a video and not like some sunset or something is that one. Okay. And so anyway, I go into that a lot there, but the anchoring of something onto the physical, where you're doing something to meet it. So that's what I was feeling this morning, where I was like, okay, this isn't going to be easy. This is just dislodging of this. Like, what do I need to do? And I got that statement, thank you for trying to protect me by creating pain. I'm ready to feel what you were trying to protect me from. Show me the feeling that you're protecting me from now. Show me, stop creating pain now. Show me the feeling now. Thank you. You know, something like that, some sort of intention, some sort of action, some sort of altar, some sort of, and then what I offered today, you know, this consecration, consecrating this, you know, with a victory card, choosing in the beginning to be open to the energy of transmutation. It's still in the field. It's still possible if you haven't gotten it yet. The transmutation, the transfiguration, the clearing of this energy from within you, rippling out, clearing it within the field in service to all. Okay, so there's a meeting in the middle world, in the physical, with our intention, with our words, with our actions. Okay, so that feels really beautiful and confirming. I am gonna do, I think I ended on Angels of Atlantis, so there's a sync for you as well. I know you're listening. I know you have a sync. I think these might even be his cards, the man with the big dark glasses. Okay, anyway, sorry, that was a little personal message there. It might speak to somebody else as well, but okay, so oh my god, we get joy and dolphin. There is another sync, oh my gosh, with the Larimer. This is my Larimer ring. It's connected to the dolphins, it's connected to the water, it's connected to the calming, it's connected to the intuition, it's connected to the relaxing of our body, to the releasing of the pain, to the releasing of our fascia, the releasing of the tightness, the breathing. The dolphins are also in between realms, you know, they're multidimensional, they're telepathic, they're where we're at right now. This is the field that we're in, the telepathic field, creating joy. This coming along with the victory card, the 6 of Wands, even the blue, the light blue of that dolphin, the oceanic, the higher timeline energy. I should have worn my blue Andara. It's about that color. It looks about like that. Yeah, so really, really beautiful. Just confirming what we just did together. So I hope that you felt that. Please let me know if you did, if you feel to, yeah, and just really having that intention and joining in that intention to clear and to support ourselves in sort of this little bit of effort that needs to be made in clearing this, but also rippling out in service to all, to anyone who may benefit. Okay, I feel to do a little, bit more. It's only 55 minutes and it's okay. I just feel like there's something else. Oh, wow, that's interesting. So this card is from a different deck. This is my Moon Oracle, but this one fell out, and here is the 2 of Cups. So there's that card of alignment. It's a romance card, but this isn't a romance reading. So in that case, I read it as alignment with our higher self. So this is coming out underneath this, the full card that would have been calling as the 0-point field, and the merging of our polarities. So they're confirming that. And let's see what this one is. Here is discernment. And that's coming out, okay, that's coming out underneath of the Moon card here. So carrying through this energy in this transmission. It's interesting because yesterday I took a photo of the sunrise behind there. Oh my god, so there was an agave and the agave flower. So I had an experience when I was on the mountaintop and we were lost, and right as we were finding our way, like I heard to go a certain way, and I heard like when you go up to the top you're gonna know where you are, and you're gonna effortlessly come down. And so as we were coming up, I was staring at this agave because the placement where we did the crystal at the in the medicine wheel, the Apache medicine wheel, was there were a lot of agaves all around it. And so I saw the agave and I was like, okay, I just felt like energetically we were in familiar terrain. And as I was staring at the agave, Jane was like, oh my God, there's the mine, you know, and she knew where we were, and we found our way down. But then as we were going down, there were all these agaves in full bloom. They're all over the place up there, but those were the first ones that we saw where we were, that were in full bloom. And so when I got home, I looked up the flower essence. A lot of you would have seen this, of the agave plant. And it's about like being on a new level. It's like, again, sort of that apex energy where you're on this new level, and it's like honoring the fact that you're on this new level and moving forward from it, you know. So there's this sort of message that was really woven in with that up-leveled energy where it's like we're on this new platform now, you know, and we're figuring out how to live in the middle world, in our physical world, from that new energy, you know. So living from that energy and having this this success and this alignment with ourselves and with this new energy is inviting this clearing, you know, this clearing of our subconscious. It's there in the field. It's the next step. Hopefully what we did today and that intention is helpful in moving that along, bringing our awareness to this as well. That that saying that the affirmations that my friend gave me, if you happen to memorize those or write those down if you want to use them, but then also this like sweating, just like sweat dripping off of me, this discernment. Okay, so paying attention to this realm, like having that awareness of knowing when you're being a minion, when you're leaking your energy, when you're feeding this type of energy, when you're enabling it, when you're enhancing it, because this is the type of stuff that's leaving, and it's going to be leaving more effortlessly now, because it's where we're at with this up level. We're with the agave, so it's the late bloomer card as well, because once it blooms, then it dies. You know, the plant dies. So it's like, it can take like, you know, decades. I don't know how long exactly, but it can take a long time for it to bloom, and it's like it's big flowering, you know. So that's kind of how we are. A lot of us are. We're late bloomers. We spend a lot of time in shame, a lot of time feeling wrong, a lot of time being, you know, a food source for this type of energy because of that. And so coming into this fullness and coming into this horizon and this opening, see, I knew there was more, this sunrise type of energy, you know, and yet knowing that as we're moving through these thresholds and we're doing this completion, is that this stuff has to purge out of us still. And so again, that was coming up in the last reading with the tower, you know, whatever those crunchy moments were that are kicking this stuff up, celebrating it because it's leaving. But it feels like the message this time is just kind of paying attention to when you might be playing out old patterns. Pay attention to when you might be feeding this type of archonic energy, you know, and allowing it to stay attached within your body by not. Because once you unplug from it and you stop feeding this energy, you can heal, you know, because the reason why you're feeding it is because there's some sort of hole or unmet trauma in yourself that gets off on feeding it, you know. And so once you stop feeding it, like when I first stopped feeding it, I felt really bored. I was like, life's not fun anymore. And I was like, why? It's not fun because you're not like manipulating and fucking with energy. It was subtle. I'm not trying to make myself sound like a monster. Most people do it. They don't even realize it, right? You don't even realize it. But yeah, it was like, it's just kind of boring. And I'm like, I can see now why I sort of tangoed with darkness, because the mundane felt so empty to me and I didn't belong, and I couldn't really like have my frequency to the point where I could co-create, because I didn't know how to do that. And I didn't know all the things I went into darkness because at least it was a little more dimensional, you know, that type of thing, you know. And I spent a lot of time, you know, journeying with that, because it was on the one hand, it was interesting, but on the other hand, it's part of the path and part of the initiation and part of how you're able to unravel it now, because you've danced with it and you understand it. You've gone in and now you can go in special ops because you know how it works, you know, and that type of thing. And so something about that as well, right? So like interfacing with this energy and being discerning, you know, using all your skills, everything you've observed about yourself, all the ways that you've, you know, play out this energy and using it to unplug. Again, once you unplug, you know, you might feel a little bored or empty for a little while, but it will fill in with light. It will fill in with that infusion, you know, this type of energy that we're feeling, again, transmissions in this. And then you don't need to do it anymore. You know, you don't need to do it. And then you start transmitting an energy of completion and wholeness. You start living this way. You start becoming the antidote. Okay. Again, a huge sign of victory with that's what's going on right now. So following through with whatever guidance you might feel to take, whatever step you might feel to take in the physical, to help facilitate this. A lot of energy around success for this to be happening right now. And again, that discernment and that watching and being aware, you know, so that you don't slip back into those patterns and doing something about that. Again, that sextile energy. So I am going to end there. It's a little strange for me. I usually do one underneath each card and it's nice and neat, but that's the other thing that I'm finding is like a lot of things are different. Like a lot of my like placements and everything's more efficient in my house, but it's different. And even like when I went down to the desert house, I usually go by myself with my son. It was different. My daughter was there, and then we were spending time with, you know, her dad and his partner and having meals together, and, you know, we were sleeping in a different bed. It's like everything is discombobulated right now. So this feels appropriate as well. So when you see the photo, it's not going to be all like orderly. Anyway, so all right. Well, thank you for joining. Thank you for joining in consciousness. Thank you for moving into this telepathic network and stabilizing this field together in this moment. Hopefully loosening and feeling a loosening, rippling effects of this, even if not felt in the moment. Trusting and choosing to allow the energy to assist with this clearing that we're doing right now. Being our own personal volcano. Is it Pele that's been going off? It's somewhere, one of them on Hawaii. I was remembering Pele, and really big and from really deep within, and clearing this stuff and using all of the analogies and forces and fractals of this energy to plug into, to help invoke and clear and call on this clearing, and taking the steps that we need to take in that discernment, and not leaking in our energy, not enabling this type of attack energy, clearing ourselves and being free, finally free. So okay, thank you for joining, and I will see you next time. If I do, yeah, I'm gonna go turn my swamp cooler back on. All right, much love to you all.